Alright, hey, it's me. This video is for my friends who are still active cops, my brothers in blue. It's a video about the complete lack of competence of most cops these days, and for brevity purposes I'll do this video in a 2 or maybe 3-part series. Now, as most of you already know, I was a state certified police trainer for many years and in several different fields. I've also written use of force policies for a police agency. Now, I'm telling you this because I'm about to criticize the majority of cops these days, which I take no pleasure at all in doing. But I think it's very necessary because there are some hard lessons that need to be learned here. I am of the opinion that cops today are far less competent than the cops of, say, 15 to 20 years ago. Listen, guys, we are not improving. We are regressing. And I'm about to give you examples of this and offer some solutions, or what I think are solutions. Alright? Now, for the past few years, I've been watching a lot of police body cam or badge cam videos of police shootings, officer-involved shootings, and other types of police uses of force. I have watched literally hundreds of these videos, and I have taken note of several commonplace habits, reactions, and responses by cops that either led to injuries to the officer or to bystanders and or to the suspect, or has dramatically increased the chances of injuries happening to those. Now, I believe some criticism is absolutely necessary in order to bring this issue of incompetency to the forefront so that law enforcement officials, administrators, law enforcement trainers, and even the officers themselves, if nothing else, can begin to correct the things that I'm seeing and have been seeing before more cops and civilians are killed or injured due to this seemingly widespread incompetency level. So I'm going to cover just some of those problem areas here today in this first series. Now, all of these videos can be found today. You can research this yourself and see exactly what I'm talking about. Just contact me if you want those sources. All right, let's talk about first, let's talk about skill levels. Now, from the many badge cams or dash cam videos that I have seen and still do see, skills really are practically non-existent today. I watched one badge cam video where the officer's magazine actually fell completely out of his pistol and onto the ground twice. Not once, but twice before he could ever get a shot off. Now, this pistol is completely unloaded. Okay. But he had his gun out. He was going up to, he was making his approach, and you can clearly see this. And his magazine falls out onto the ground. He bends over, picks it up, puts it back in, shouts a couple of commands at his suspect. The magazine falls out for a second time, and he puts it back in. All right. When he was finally able to fire shots, the suspect was at least 50 yards away. None of the shots fired hit that target. Didn't hit the suspect, didn't hit the car that he was trying to carjack, and luckily it didn't hit any bystanders that were right around that car anyway. So you've got bad tactics, bad judgment, and zero skills all rolled into one incident. And this is a common scene these days from cops. And I'm sorry to say that, but I see it all the time. I even watched a video where one cop was trying to change magazines in his Glock during a shooting situation because he shot his gun dry. So what he did was he did a mag dump. All right, he shot all the ammo out of his magazine. Before he was even completely out of his car, he had emptied his gun. So then he had to change. He had to get the slide was locked back naturally because it was empty, right? That's what it's designed to do. Lock back to tell you, hey, I'm empty, I need more ammo, right? Well, this guy struggled with trying to conduct a simple magazine change for nearly 20 seconds. You can see him doing this, tugging on his magazine. He can't get it out. It's like he forgot how to get his magazine out. And then he walks up towards the suspect that is now down on the ground, and he points his empty gun just like this in the slide lock position, points it at him, and then he finally figures out, oh yeah, damn, I gotta hit that button, that magazine release button, to get that magazine out. Then he finally gets his gun reloaded. You should be able to easily clear a Type 3 double feed malfunction under stress in less time than that. Now, this is not the only video I've seen with this happening in it. Now, there was no malfunctions. He simply shot the gun dry. He couldn't remember how to get the magazine out. Now, that video can be found on the YouTube channel Active Self-Protection, as can many other videos like this one. Again, I've seen countless badge cams with this sort of thing happening. Now look, I know better than most people how high stress can affect our dexterity and our thinking. So, why do these cops fumble so bad? Well, it's because they don't practice. They don't train. They don't practice. They don't do any dry practices. Look, the negative effects of this high stress, such as the fumbling, can be greatly reduced and controlled through consistent practice, which is something that most cops today seem to have no desire for. And man, is it obvious. That guy I was just talking about, he never even hit his mag release button until 15 or 20 seconds into his struggle, which shouldn't have been a struggle to begin with. It's just unreal how many videos are out there of cops who can't perform something as simple as a magazine change under stress. So fellas, listen. Consistent practice is your responsibility. It's not your department's responsibility, it's yours. If you have no desire to practice, then do yourself, your co-workers, and your community a favor and just go find another career. Now, in line with all that, I also can't even begin to count the number of pistol malfunctions I've seen encountered by cops when shooting. For example, Fort Lupton, Colorado. Alright, an armed suspect is approaching a cop. The cop is giving him commands to stop and drop the knife. The guy doesn't. The cop fires once and immediately has a malfunction. The slide locked open, just like this. Immediately. First shot. Alright? Luckily, the suspect immediately fell on that one shot. It incapacitated him when that officer shot that one .40 caliber round, and it happened to hit in the right place and he went down. Now, I've seen this same malfunction happen so many times it has become commonplace. Now, most cops are shooting Glocks or M&Ps. Now, these pistols very rarely malfunction. Yet it seems that in law enforcement shootings, these pistols malfunction at least 33% of the time, or 1/3 of the time by my conservative estimation. Now, why is that? Well, there's two big reasons for it, and you're not going to like it. And the first one is improper grip. That's the first one. Those thumbs all up over the slide makes contact with that slide and causes a malfunction. Or the thumb pushes up on that slide stop lever and causes a malfunction. You push up on it, it's going to lock open every time. This is exactly why you always hear me harping about why you should never use the popular thumbs forward grip method. Yet, it's the only grip method ever taught these days because, we have to be in the popular crowd, right? Even at the expense of risking our own lives, right? Wrong. Wake up, smarten up, and stop using it. Alright, and the second reason for it is limp wrist. Usually because the officer is shooting with only one hand while the arm is extended because he can't seem to decide if he wants to defend his life or talk to the dispatcher on the radio on his walkie-talkie. Which segues right into my next point. The Chatterbox Cops. Hold on, let me light a cigarette. I just forever keep seeing this obsession that cops have with talking on their radio. Yes, communication is critical in 95% of law enforcement. But smack in the middle of a freaking gunfight is not the time for that communication. Run your gun, not your mouth. Alright? Take your support hand off of that walkie-talkie or microphone and put it on the pistol where it belongs. I mean, really, what the hell is even wrong with you people? And for Christ's sake, put a mini light on your pistol, alright? So you can keep your support hand on your pistol instead of clutching a flashlight in your support hand and your pistol out like this. If you've got a rail mounted light, drop the damn flashlight and put the hand up here. You understand what I'm saying? You got to learn to drop whatever is in radio, flashlight, it doesn't matter. Whatever is in your support hand, when it comes time to pull that trigger, drop it and put it where it belongs. That should be a no-brainer. Alright, now, and I think this is the last portion, we're going to get into something that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, especially cops. And you're not going to like it, I'm sure, but I really don't care because facts are facts. Listen, non-lethal weapons such as tasers and OC spray are not meant to be used against persons armed with a deadly weapon, period. They are intended to be used as a means of forcing compliance, not for defensive uses. Okay? The guy won't put his hands behind his back for the cuffs? Tase his ass. The guy doesn't want to get out of his car? OC spray him. Alright? Want to walk toward me with a knife in your hand? Fine. You'll get a 180 grain bullet, in your ocular vault. Screw you. That's called an appropriate use of force continuum. I suppose now they're teaching that differently too, based on what I continue to see. You know, it's the, we don't want to hurt the bad guy's feelings, you know. Listen, chiefs and sheriffs, don't let community sentiment dictate how you develop your policies. Always go by the rule of law and not by the rule of mob. Now let me clarify this further. When you roll up on a thug waving a knife around and yelling threats, draw your gun. Leave that freaking taser and that OC spray alone. No sane person responds to a deadly threat with a non-deadly tool. That is not the proper use of force continuum. Now, having said that, if the situation permits, and there are times that it does, and you have contained the bad guy and with a knife, not a gun, with a knife, and you have at least 2 other cops with you that both have their guns, real guns, drawn on the suspect, and you want to try to taser that suspect first, well, that's fine, because you've got your backup there to take care of it should that taser fail, right? Otherwise, though, screw a taser, screw the OC spray, and anything else that is less than lethal. Alright, this is not the time to play the politically correct game or to negotiate with your bad guy. But once again, an overwhelming number of police badge cam videos show officers with a taser in hand while going up against suspects armed with guns, knives, bats, hammers, and other deadly weapons. This is insanity. Look, tasers have a high rate of failure to begin with, since both probes, which are really just number 6 fish hooks, both of those probes must remain attached to the body in order to complete the electrical circuit. Now usually one of the 2 probes bounces off or does not catch, and the circuit is never completed. And distance and angle can play a big part in this. A badge cam video from Grand Rapids, Michigan shows an officer actively engaged in a shootout, in the middle of a shootout. He's got his pew-pew in this hand, and he's got his taser in his left hand. Both of them extended out. What the hell is that? I'll say it again. A non-lethal tool, a taser, OC spray, is intended to be used on unarmed people who refuse to comply. It is used to gain compliance, alright? That's what it's for. It is not intended to be used for self-defense purposes against a deadly weapon. That's why God invented guns. Now, if your police agency has a policy that contradicts this, then your policy endangers the officers and the community unnecessarily, and any officer injured as a result of complying with that policy should sue the police agency. Alright, and I think we're at the last one now on this segment of the series. Magazine dumps. If you don't know what that is, that's the habit of rapidly emptying out your magazine completely on the suspect, on the bad guy. Listen closely to this. It is very rare that a cop will need to dump his entire magazine into a bad guy in order to shut him down or to actually stop him. Now, yes, it's happened, but it's infrequent. On average, cops fire less than 8 shots to down their suspect. And like I said, there are exceptions, but again, they are rare, and there are usually other factors involved that necessitated that magazine dump, including usually bad shot placements, weak, small calibers, and I hate to say it, but it happens with 9mm more than any other caliber. Barrier penetrations, in other words, did the bullet go through a windshield or a wall or something like that prior? All right, you got to look at the suspect's body mass and muscular structure. You know, I've seen dozens of dash cams, body cams, videos that show mag dumps by cops, and I just watched one the other day of a cop that actually dumped all 3 of his magazines into a suspect and the truck that he was sitting in while the officer was walking up to that truck. 3 magazines. This guy has no business carrying a badge. He has a serious psychological issue. There's absolutely no reason for this kind of overkill at all. Now, likewise, I watched one where a guy was in the backyard, some large backyard court or something, and he came out into the backyard holding his girlfriend at gunpoint or knife point. I'm not sure which, I think gunpoint. And it looked to me like there was about 5 or 6 cops present. I'm not sure. And it didn't really have a backstory to it, so I don't know. But somehow, someone got a shot off, and the suspect dropped to the ground like a sack of bricks. Now, I don't know if it was a direct brain shot or what, but the guy never even flinched. And I never heard the shot, so I don't really know what happened. But then suddenly, even though the guy was down and very clearly incapacitated, he wasn't moving at all. Suddenly, all of the cops just opened fire on the dude as he lay there on his back. And I watched that, and I rewinded that video several times and watched it. And I conservatively estimated at least, bare minimum, 30 shots fired at that dude, all while he was on the ground. And this guy still never once flinched, even during that hail of bullets. Now look, this is never justified, all right? Now if he's trying to raise a gun, if he's on the ground and trying to lift a gun up to you, well, yeah, keep shooting, I understand that. These people weren't doing that, though. There's video after video after video out there of cops just shooting people to pieces, and the person's never moved. From the time they hit the ground, they never flinched or moved, but yet they just got to unfreaking load. Look, that shit is not justified, and it clearly illustrates piss poor training and a serious lack of discipline. Not to mention, it endangers the community, and it endangers everybody else in the area. Because you're shooting that fast, that many times, you're not hitting your suspect. Your bullets are bouncing and ricocheting all over the place, and God knows where they're going. Now, yet in another recent video, a woman took a close-range shot at a cop and then began running off. Now, the cop fired about 4 shots at her as she was running away, which was a proper thing to do in that situation. And after about the 4th shot, she collapsed. I mean, she hit the pavement, she was out, she was not moving. But that cop still continued to shoot. He emptied that magazine, then he reloaded, and then fired even more shots as she lay there still, not moving a bit. Not even a hair was moving in the wind. That was totally and completely unnecessary, not to mention very dangerous. Look, here's why mag dumps happen. 98% of all mag dumps are nothing but panic firing. And sometimes you might hear it called emotional shooting. Panic firing puts the public at risk, at great risk. In a mag dump, your chances of landing an effective hit on the target is close to 0 because all you're doing is spraying bullets everywhere, and 85% of those are missing the bad guy entirely. That means most shots will hit other things or people. This can be avoided through proper training and fire discipline, but cops aren't getting this training anymore, so the mag dumps are becoming acceptable. This should scare the hell out of any normal or responsible person. And before you can say it, no. A mag dump on your attacker is not a natural human response to a threat or an automatic instinct, as it's put out by another YouTube gun channel. So get that crap notion out of your noggin right now. Once your threat is down and is not taking aim at you, just stay behind cover or move to cover and wait for backup so that you can safely approach the suspect. You don't have to shoot the suspect into a pile of fleshy pulp. Alright, fellas, that's a wrap for the first segment on this series of Police Incompetence today. The second segment is just as intense, if not more so. Now, please keep in mind that although this series is indeed heavily criticizing many of our current police officers, the criticism is only intended to identify dangerous trends and mistakes being made by many cops that put them and the community at a higher than necessary risk. The end goal is to correct these issues so that cops can perform their jobs more effectively and safer while better protecting the community in general. And that's what it's all about. Alright, see you in the next segment.